Hello, thank you for being here. This is for Saturn in Pisces or Saturn in the 12th house. This is a really interesting placement because we have Saturn, which is about structure and it's about organization and systems and restriction. And then we've got it in Pisces, which is quite contrary to that. It's about openness and expansion and fluidity and the unseen. It's about the opposite of reality in a sense. And so there's this very interesting dynamic that's going on with Saturn in Pisces or Saturn in the 12th house. And so it's interesting because when we're talking about money here being such a material and 3D construct with Pisces energy in play here, and we're talking about timelines and we're talking about discipline and systems, it really is a softening of that energy. And Saturn in Pisces is a really spiritual placement when you think about it, like 10th house energy being the embodiment of all your lessons, houses 1 to 9. You integrate those lessons and then you express what you've taken in to the world. And so, and when you think about Capricorn energy, that's very spiritual as well. It's the mountain goat who has its feet on the earth. And so Saturn in Pisces in so many ways is this bridge energy of these really etheric constructs, these etheric waves, and these really beautiful ways of being, this imaginative dream states, all this kind of thing. And then we've got Saturn here, which is reality and which is about practical steps. And so you've got your intuition guiding you, you've got your creativity, your imagination guiding you. And so I really would encourage Saturn in Pisces energy when it comes to money is to think expansively about what's possible. Saturn in Pisces, it can feel like a really harsh energy because you've got these ideas, these dreams, these ideals of how things should be or what would be better or what would be idealistic in a sense. But then you're faced with everyday reality, this harshness and this rigidness that it doesn't seem to quite fit. But understanding that Saturn in Pisces is a bridge is kind of a real blessing in many ways, because you're kind of here to ground these new concepts, these new ideas, these different ways of doing things which aren't harsh, which don't have the greed factor contributing to it, doesn't have the victimhood, it doesn't have like the martyrdom associated with it. Because with Pisces energy, it's about the interconnectedness of everything. It's about how we're all part of the same consciousness, therefore we're equal, therefore we're all entitled to abundance. It's really important for Pisces energy to lean into the idea of receptivity and worthiness, because Saturn in Pisces, being so aware of all the wrongdoings in the world and the pain in the world and how hard things can be, and feeling for everyone who's suffering, you can diminish your own needs because of that. And it's really important to work on a sense of self-worth and a sense of equality in yourself, that you and everyone else deserve to live in a way that feels rich to you, that feels like quality, that puts a security net under you. It is okay for that to happen. You deserve for that to happen. It doesn't matter of any wrongdoings that have happened in the past. It doesn't matter of time wasted or perceived time wasted, because it's never a waste. But knowing that mistakes that have been made were for a purpose, and if you are able to step into your abundance, then you give other people permission to do the same thing. It's not a me or them kind of a situation. It's like when you tune to your spiritual integrity and lean into these aspects of you, then by waves, by your energetic field, by your lived experience, you are showing others how to do the same thing. This is what I was saying about being a bridge. These energies, these subtle experiences, these subtle imprints, these intuitions, you will be able to show others how to do it with Saturn as leadership quality to it. So never feel like you won't have an impact. With Pisces energy, it's where you talk to this person and you have this energetic interaction, these waves interfering with each other, these waves talking with each other and imprinting on each other, and then that person has an interaction and it ripples out. This is what Pisces energy is about. It's this ripple effect through the collective. And so you never know what kind of influences, what kind of imprints you leave behind. And you'll never know with Saturn when it's going to come back and help you and pay off for you. So it really is about, with Saturn too, like the little things, these consistent contributions that you make to the field. It's just a matter of leaving these imprints, these aligned imprints. They'll get returned to you in a way that's positive, that's a reward, as long as you're in this energetic alignment. So for Saturn in Pisces or Saturn in the 12th house, it really is worthwhile having a look at the imprinted ideas that you have about money, that you have about your sense of self-worth and your ability to create a stable financial position for yourself. What have you taken on? What have you absorbed from other people about that? Like, it's really important with Pisces energy, if you think about how Jupiter and Neptune rule Pisces, that's very open and gaseous and expansive energy that you exist in that can be susceptible to outside forces. And when we're young, we can absorb this stuff, and money issues is such an easy thing to take on. The lack mentality is so easy to be imprinted in us because we keep getting messages, even in our current grown-up state, about how there's not enough in the world, or all these kinds of ideas. And so understand that you, being such a spiritual being, you're on this equalized level, but it's just about making sure that you're not operating from a deficit level that was absorbed, that was projected onto you, which was energy that isn't yours. And doing stuff like having a look at core beliefs, how much you charge for your work, or the idea that you need to work harder or more in order to earn more. Like, these are two very simple examples of how money and time and beliefs, and then reverberating effects of these beliefs, can keep you small and can keep finances away from you if you are operating in these mental cycles. And it's very common, but with awareness and just with writing out or meditating on these ideas and where they potentially may have come from, it can really be helpful to neutralize them. And awareness is the step that, bringing this unconscious energy to your conscious mind, you're able to challenge that when those ideas come up again. It's also worth being conscious of the environments that you position yourself in with Saturn in Pisces, being aware of how much time you spend in the energy, the waves of people or places that don't feel abundant to you, whether you have work friends or family members that have a negative view of money or earning potential. These kinds of things can run in your mind, and these little cycles that keep playing, this unconscious pattern, this is what can keep abundance at bay. So position yourself in environments that feel rich to you, whether that be in nature of its inherent abundance, or whether that be going and sitting in a neighborhood that makes you feel like you are rich, and really feeling into the sensations of what could be while you're in these environments. This is where you bring your imagination into it and play out how the day is going to go, or play out potentials of interactions that you could have, or creating these scenes of what could happen next. Like, really bring in this Pisces imagination to your daily life and start building your reality etherically, building it in your imagination first, and then you'll start to get called to go certain places, or you'll start to get insight into next steps available to you. And this is where it gets really cool, because you're playing with that Saturn and that Pisces, and you're working together to synthesize those energies. Going back to that idea of being a bridge, it's the energy that you surround yourself with, and that means as well the intake, the content that you consume. That's a wave, and that enters your field, and that contributes to your vibration. And so being really conscious of what you're consuming in terms of information is really important as well. And it really isn't about blaming others or blaming the people who influence your energy in this way. It's just about realizing that you are perfectly in control, and when you start taking moves where you're directing your energy into these more abundant states, that's when Saturn starts to reward you. It starts to see that you're taking responsibility for your energy field, and then opportunities arise, these links get made. You start to get these divine inspired ideas, and you start to see that you've been on the right path the whole time. And all the little steps that you've been taking, even if you can't see how they will immediately pay off for you, in time, you'll start to see the benefit of every step that you've been taking. With Saturn in Pisces and Saturn in the 12th house, it really is about trusting how you feel. And even if you can't see how it's going to happen or how it's going to work out for you, just knowing that just because you've had this feeling to go in this direction or trusted this intuition that something is worth your energetic investment, that is exactly the path to go on. They're exactly the steps to take. It doesn't matter if you can't see it, if you don't get an immediate payoff. It really is important to develop that trust in yourself and develop a sense of patience that you're being led in the right direction, that the path is going to appear, it's going to materialize under your feet as you walk towards what is true for you, what has harmonic resonance with you. And it really is important to place value on your perceptions and on your creativity. Put real consideration of how every little thing that you've been doing to develop yourself, your spiritual work, your creative work, your artistry, put real value on that process. We're so heavily focused on logic in this reality that intuition and our subtle senses get cast to the wayside. They get dismissed, they get overruled, and that is at such a great price. So really emphasizing to put value on these subtle energies, on these little hunches, on these overlays that you see potentials of the future, trusting that that is valid information. And it's worth looking at your natal Mercury placement and your third house energies to see how that's kind of working with your Saturn placement or your Pisces energy, because it can feel like there's conflict between logic and intuition, but really the two can work together. But it's about understanding each of the energies and working out how to lean into intuition when you need to, and how to apply logic to those intuitions in order to make your ideas and your imaginations real. And so it's not about being in this dual mindset of this or that. It's about synthesizing, and Pisces energy is so good at that because it's mutable, it's changeable. So it's like a little tweak here, a little bit of bending there, and you can really change your whole reality from this internal cognitive shift that integrates those subtle senses. And one of the last things I'll say with Saturn in Pisces is the idea that this is lifetime energy. This isn't something that you just work on for a few months a year. It's about the long term. And so give yourself a break in terms of seeing results on your energetic expenditure, and be really Piscean in the sense of the expectation of when things should happen. Like with Saturn in Pisces, time bends. It really does. And so the more that you can adapt this really flexible idea of time, the better off you'll be, because you won't be applying this 3D pressure, this social idea of how long things should take or where you should be at a certain age, or what you need in order to feel successful. Like the more you can be really mutable in this sense, the better things will work out for you, because you're working in a place where you've got this yin energy where you're being flexible and you're being open to the opportunities, because you don't want to be cutting yourself off from opportunities because you've got this really rigid idea of how things are supposed to go. So I'm going to leave this here, and I really hope that there's some value in it for you, and I wish you well.